Hello, everyone. I'm John Brun. I'm the founder of the Way of Compassion Foundation. And it's with incredible joy that we have the honor of hosting our third annual Compassion Film Festival. And tonight we have a very special guest, Jon Jon Rivero, one of the award-winning filmmakers. And tonight we also have with us an incredible honor, Barkha Madan, who is an award-winning actress and filmmaker, now by the name of Gyalten Samten and Buddhist nun. A real joy to have you both here tonight. And I want to introduce Dan Paquette, who is the support crew. He will be interfacing any of your questions that you might have during the interview. You can just type them into a chat and Dan will relay those. So he's going to be the liaison between your questions and this dynamic conversation that we have between these two wonderful filmmakers. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to you two and all of you. Thank you so much for your support of the Compassion Film Festival.
Thank you so very much, John, for that kind introduction. And welcome everybody watching us online. Thank you for joining us. And I, with great delight, welcome our guest, Jon Jon Rivero. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay. Mabuhay.
So, how has it been?
Oh, it's been great here in Edmonton, Alberta. The weather is just wonderful. We can't complain.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And like we were talking a little bit earlier, just amazed at this whole technology that we have at hand right now, that we can connect from different places, different continents. So much interconnectedness. Wow.
Yes.
It's really
so
amazing.
grateful. So grateful for that.
Indeed. Indeed. For those of you all who have seen the film, I take great delight in saying Jon Jon Rivero has been a member of Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. He's a founder of Key Creative and now the Balikbayan project. Have I got that right?
Yes, Balikbayan, yes.
Balikbayan project. And whereabout he's integrating his creative skills to help victims of trauma to rehabilitate, find a voice. That is so amazing. And I viewed the film, I was completely bowled over. Please tell me what really motivated you to even get into this whole thing.
Thank you, Samten. Yeah, it's an honor just to be in your presence. So I just, my heart is full. But what motivated me is my parents. My parents come from the Philippines, and they've always instilled a love for others and a love of honoring where you come from by just sharing your talents. And I consider myself extremely privileged, like beyond privileged. And so my mom and dad have always shared that it's my duty to be able to honor that privilege and just give to those who need, whether that is through spending quality time or sharing a talent that, you know, I was privileged to receive as a youngster, whether through music, dance, martial arts, you know, or even to my own education in occupational therapy. So it started with that. And before my father died, I made a promise to him to go to the Philippines, and he made me promise him, and I said yes, I will go. I didn't know what it meant, but I just knew I wanted to honor him. And honestly, I went for selfish reasons originally, just to really party up, you know, live the life. I'm grateful because I was traveling with the Filipino-Canadian Saranay Association. We were sharing hip hop, original Pinoy music, just enjoying the life, like really. And it changed my life, not the partying, but in between the partying, when we would go from our tour bus to the schools that we were performing at. And I saw so many kids with no parents, I saw kids with missing limbs, no shoes, and they were just so happy to touch me. I definitely did not look like I was from there, even though they could see my facial expressions, they could see kind of my Filipino features, but the way I behaved was like I'm an outsider, a foreigner. And they would say, Kuya, Kuya, look at me. And I would look at them and they say, Kuya, because they saw me through the school gymnasium. They'd say, Kuya, beatbox. And so I'd do a little bit of beatbox. And they would say, my turn, look at me. And they'd go. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these kids are way better than me at beatboxing. And these interactions, you know, what started out as like a, 2-minute talk became a 2-hour workshop where we would do this cultural exchange in the street. And I realized at that moment that my father and my mother always wanted me to really understand where I came from and the privilege that I have. Something that struck a chord in me is I saw myself in these kids. Something that I talk about in the documentary, and people who know me know that my father had a brain tumor when I was 2. And I can only imagine if we were in the Philippines, living off my mother's income as a teacher, would have been very hard to pay for medical costs, surgery, to operate on his brain, medication. I could have ended up on the street, and to me at that moment, I realized, okay, Dad was trying and Mom are trying to teach me how blessed I am and how lucky I am to have been given this life. And
that's really amazing that we have the compassionate education coming from our parents, and for you to recognize that, to take it further, and to go and fulfill their aspiration, their dreams. It is really remarkable. I was very curious, and now the filmmaker in me actually woke up and said, this documentary is shot over a few months, few years, maybe, perhaps?
13
What's the duration? 13 years.
13 years, yes. I originally didn't know I was making a documentary.
Yeah. So you just thought this was like a spontaneous idea to just walk with the camera and document things you were doing, or was it sort of pre-planned?
Originally, I had a leave of absence. So that following year, so that was 2006 when I first went to the Philippines. I technically started the project in collaboration with Streetlight Philippines the following year. And I was so lucky that my work at the time gave me a leave of absence. And so what I wanted to do is, it's almost like a little sabbatical, right? Not vacation, but a little bit of a sabbatical. And I wanted to honor them just by showing them that I wasn't just there to party, right? Like I was just going to shoot the work that we were doing and hopefully cut something together and then show them to say, listen, thank you so much. This means so much to me and my family that you've given me this time. This is what I did, right? And this is, that time was spent doing this, right? And I cut together a little documentary in 2007. And again, I'm not a filmmaker by trade, right? It had like licensed music that I didn't get permission from. Like, I'm just making this for my family and friends, and put it together. I showed it to my godbrother, Bernie Hernando. And he says, John, I want to go with you. And he's a filmmaker. And I said, Bernie, wouldn't it be great if, because I'm just shooting on this handy cam, if you came and we told a story of what it's like to be a Filipino-Canadian Balikbayan from my lens, and using hip hop as a tool to connect, right? And he agreed. And so 2009, we came, we had an incredible team that year, and we were shooting our Pagpasabot expression programs. That year also was a year we brought a water filtration team some engineers, some geophysicists. And so we had all this footage and we had a great time. But we had a hard time thinking, what do we do with this film? What's the story, really? It's like, well,
where is it going?
Yeah, where's it going? And
because
so, yeah,
when I see it, I'm like, there is a lot of footage there
there's
for
a
you
lot.
to condense into an hour, 15 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
Who is the editor and how did he put it together? Because
Well,
it comes together in the end, you know, like it's a story that you can follow and it touches you in so many ways, especially when you are working with doing a workshop with the street children and you're trying to help them come out with their, you know, inner emotions and their fears.
yes.
That was such a touching moment for me. Like, you know, with your tools, you're able to sort of tap into them and say, it's okay, you're in a safe space and you can open up.
Yes, absolutely. Like, honestly, this film would not be possible, obviously, without my godbrother, Bernie Hernando, but another co-producer and my co-director, who's really the technical genius behind the film. His name is Rob Hillstead. He's a brother from another mother, just like Bernie is. And he is an extremely talented director and editor. And he works in the film industry in Vancouver. So he's the jack of all trades. And he has so much patience with me. If you can imagine, 13 years of footage. And I'm like, Rob, you got to put this in. Oh, we got this sick moment here. You got to put that in. He's like, okay, John, we got to kill our darlings. That's his turn. Sometimes just because I think it's cool doesn't mean it's worthy of the film.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I understand.
So Rob been awesome.
It's tell our audience what does the term Balikbayan really mean?
Yes.
You know?
So Balikbayan is a term for a Filipino who has left the Philippines and then returns. So there's the famous term of like a Balikbayan box. So Balikbayan, the word balik means to return. And bayan, it comes from kabayan, which is like a country person. So Balikbayan, someone who returns from the country.
What an apt choice for this documentary and for your work. It's really amazing, really.
Thank you, Samten.
I also was kind of actually quite bowled over when I noticed you had filmed part of the typhoon that happened. Were you actually there when it took place?
No. So we were there. We were there 3 weeks prior to the typhoon.
Mm-hmm.
The ironic thing was we were delivering our My Name is Trauma workshop for the first time with the city of Tacloban and Streetlight and all the partners. We went to Thailand and celebrated Rob Booth, he's in the movie, his wedding to his wife Prayer. And then we came back to Canada. I was at Canmore, Alberta with our amazing Key Creative team, and I turn on CNN in November, and I see Anderson Cooper interviewing, you know, some of our children in Tacloban with no, you know, the devastation, right? And I was traumatized, and that's one of the themes of this whole film is that just because I'm a therapist or a trauma specialist or whatever does not make me immune to trauma. And so the footage in the film is from Alan Johannesson. Again, my brother. He's literally saved like those kids and the staff with his leadership, getting everyone up onto that roof. And he has graciously shared that only with us to include in our film. Like, you know, they're thinking this is the end of our life and he's filming this, you know. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
When I saw it, I was like, oh, what is happening? You look at the challenges that, you know, everybody's going through and all the devastation and the sense of hopelessness that seeps into you, you know. And actually, you're very right when you say, just because I'm a therapist, I remember His Holiness Dalai Lama saying one time, just because I'm a monk doesn't mean I don't feel pain.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I do feel pain. Definitely. I feel the pain, I feel the suffering, and that's what I use to invoke my compassion. You You know, I use that. So it's amazing, really.
Yes.
So I also noticed that during the making of this film, you went there with the producer partner, and then you were married, and then you also had a child.
Yeah. Yes.
How old is she now?
She's 2.5. Lena Gloria is our pride and joy. She's half Filipino, a quarter Ukrainian, a quarter French. So when people say, what's her ethnicity? I often joke and I say, Frucopina. But she is honestly, you know, if the people that I made this film for, obviously number one is my parents, but the other side of it is my daughter, and like that generation is who I made it for, right? And
I'm sure when she grows up, she will really appreciate and admire all your work, and you will be her hero if you already are not. Okay, we have a few questions coming in, so I think we will move to our audience and take in their questions. And yes, the very first one I have from Roxana, and she says, she's asking, how are things going since you made the film? Do more filmmakers go back to Philippines? And if so, what are they doing?
Yes. So as this is a lifelong project, so a lot of people have shared, you know, what's your exit strategy? And again, that's kind of like a different way of looking at the project. Our project is not to fix anything. You know, I've often had criticism in universities when I've talked and said, "Oh, you're putting your first world spin on trying to help the needy." And I said, that's an interesting point, and I want to honor that. However, my intention is not to be there to fix anything. We're there to share. Like this is about a partnership, and so we've been going back every year since actually 2017. So we went 2017, 2018, 2019, and we would love to go this year. However, the current state of affairs, right? Yeah. So how are things going? Well, Streetlight is resilient. They are one of the most incredible organizations I have ever been blessed to know about, let alone be able to be involved in. This is how resilient these people are. They have shifted since COVID to not just be helping kids, but they're now helping the frontline workers. So Wonderful. They've gone from not just helping kids on the street and in the communities and building infrastructure in the new area in Tacpuro, to going to the hospitals and going to disaster relief areas, even right now to this day. And they provide meals for we're all needy, not just people who are on the street. The frontline heroes of this pandemic at this time. I was joking earlier about me never finishing the film because I always go back with a GoPro or my iPhone and just always getting, let's get this, right? And so, yes, as filmmakers, we're always sharing. Whether I decide I want to create more film, I really just want to share these moments with people here in Canada or people across the world to learn, because I get way more than I could possibly give, right? And yeah.
I have another question in here from Jim Rose. Wow. Loves your very emotional movie. Do you have any success stories of the kids who grew up at the Streetlight and then started lives on their own?
Yes, absolutely. And I think we talk about, in the film, we focus on a couple, Marvin, who is now a graduate in criminology and is becoming a certified police officer and is in security. Would love to serve and give back to his Streetlight brothers and sisters and serve the organization. We have Kenneth and Vincent, who are also graduates of their studies and are continuing to provide their studies. Something that's amazing is when I met these kids, they look like they were 6, 7, but they're actually in their teenage years, right?
Wow.
And Samten, honestly, they were never too cool to be a 13-year-old in kindergarten or
Yeah.
a 12-year-old in grade 3. Their classmates, they'd introduce me to their classmates and they'd be half their size, and they were proud to be in school, right? And
Wonderful.
despite criticism from other older kids, like they stuck with it. And like Marvin, Kenneth, Rosalinda, lots of these success stories were not captured in our film. And it was hard.
Yeah.
Again, Rob gave me and Bernie gave me kind of like an objective lens. Like we can only focus on one or two, main characters. And again, that's just me being a novice filmmaker, wanting to incorporate everything.
Well, I would like to tell our audience that please give a round of applause to wherever you are, because this is the premiere of this beautiful film in North America. It's a North American premiere. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And in interest of time, we're going to take perhaps another question, because I have a request from you, John.
Okay.
And perhaps the last question would be from Valerie. Can you provide a little background on Streetlight, please?
So Streetlight is an organization that was founded by Allen Johannesson and was also, I guess, a subsidiary of Streetlight Norway. So it's a foundation that also exists in Norway that helps empower children to redevelop their faith in family. So it's an orphanage that has evolved into a community of scholars in the community of the seawall of Tacloban. But after the typhoon, they moved that whole subdivision to Tacpuro. And now continue to create, I guess, positive change through sports, through self-expression, through social work, through, I guess, empowerment, community development, and are helping the frontline workers right now of our pandemic in the Philippines. And right now it's pretty intense. They need our prayers and our thoughts and our love.
Oh, absolutely. And more power to them. And may they have the best of conditions and resources to carry out all the wonderful work. Is this film going to be featured or screened in more festivals? Do you plan to take it global? Do you plan to...
Yes.
Is something happening on that front?
Yes, we're very grateful that this is the premiere. I honestly, this is a dream come true. And we're so also blessed to have our film at this point selected for another film festival, which I can't necessarily name just yet, but in Canada. So
oh, wonderful.
We will have a world theatrical, as my lawyer says, a world theatrical premiere. And we hope to share it with other film festivals that may pick it up. So.
Wonderful. I really hope it happens for you. And before we leave, a request from my side and the artist in me and all the artists out there, if you could please hum some bit of that beautiful music video you made. It has such a catchy tune. It's
Thank
amazing.
You so much.
Yes, please.
Taclobanon at iyong at isayaan. Ito ang bagbabago na ating inaasahan. How about that?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And for our sweet audience who's watching us right now, what does it mean?
It means,
what is the message?
Basically, the summarization is, this is our story of Typhoon Yolanda. And essentially, you are just a storm. Yes, thousands have perished. But if we put our faith in a higher power, God, universe, that we will get through this together. And there's a line in the song where it says, "You're just a storm, we are Filipino." And
wow.
Filipinos go through so much hardship. Shout out to Alex Mabulay, who wrote the song and is one of the star artists.
Wonderful. I love it. It was so hummable. I said, I must make this request when I get to talk with you. So thank you so much. And all the very best for all your future screenings and for your projects. And everybody else watching us online, please do go watch this film if you haven't already. You must, and spread the message of love and kindness and great compassion. Thank you so very much for joining us, John.
Thank you, Samten.
you.
Thank you.
you.
Blessings.